Vanakkam and welcome everyone once again to this fourth installation of Misconceptions and Miseducation within the Kali Shakti worship in Trinidad and Tobago. In this video, we would look into the second video that was posted from that two videos that I posted to be debunked and discredited. In this one, we look into the second video now where there is a pujari of 42 years and he is making claims and he is more or less making statements about the worship pertaining to the offering of animals or what we may call sacrifice or balidan. So let us dive straight into that aspect and see where he goes with this and see if I can debunk what has been said so far from what he's putting across. Alright, so it starts where the narrator talks about indentured laborers would have crossed into the new world. They would have come with their culture, religion, and it has, and it has never left. More or less true. How Shakti worship or Kali worship came into Trinidad, that is debatable. And in my next series or next topics of videos, we will go into that and we would see where from India through the indentured laborer aspect, where when the laborers came in and how they were divided among the different countries within the Caribbean, and where how different aspect of worship went where and how it was cultivated, and then eventually how Trinidad one was actually given birth or cultivated in that aspect. We'll look into that too. Alright. The narrator says that, however, the task of debunking myths, right, of stories of evil during Kali worship still looms. And an attempt to clear up misconceptions about the goddess are individual, which is more or less this particular pujari that he's pertaining to. Right, a devotee, he has been a devotee for 42 years, so that, and he is an elder in the worship, he is a head pujari of a temple and so forth. Right, he says that the individual says that his job now is to protect the true meaning of the goddess. All right, the individual or the pujari here goes on to say that plenty people associate Kali with killing of animals and all kind of things. He goes on to say, where's the mercy in when you kill something that is out of the religion? Give him danam, right? He's talking about the animal. Well, give him danam. And if you want to give, you want to give animal, be charitable to him. Buy an animal, go in the road somewhere and set him free. Give him freedom. Now, this is what. Let us take it piece by piece here. Now, the individual state that his responsibility is to more or less protect the true meaning of the goddess. But when he goes on further, he talks about that, people say that he talks about the killing of animals within the worship. And he asks, he says, where's the mercy in that, in killing an animal, as though he's trying to debunk that these things doesn't exist in the worship, that it is not a factor, that is not founded, it is not factual, right? This is where the misconception comes into play. I am totally okay and I'm totally respectable of people who don't practice the balidan aspect of, or the sacrifice aspect, as we say in local terms, of the worship, and they're totally purely sattvic or sada, as we say in Trinidad, and that in our vernacular term, right? But one must consider and one must be truthful to oneself that there are two aspects of my worship, right? We can even go three, but that's if you're breaking down certain things where Diksha is concerned from a guru to a devotee, the householder and growing up, but that's a topic for a different day. But mainly up to that point, let us go to using two. There are two aspects of Kali which you have the sattvic, which is sada, what we call it, and you're doing their fruits and sweets and such, and the Sahari Lopsi and whatever. And then you have the balidan, which still consists of the sattvic nature, that because the sattvic has to be done, and Then you do the Balidan. Now, when we go into aspects of the Kalika Puran, and we go from chapter 53 onwards to chapter 55, 56, whatever, it gives this depictions and it gives descriptions of performing the sattvic aspect of the worship to the Devi, offering the sweets and the this and the that and all the nice beautiful flowers and so forth. And it even goes in details of what color sari not to offer the Devi, but tells you of the flowers and all the different things. It gives you the beach mantras for japam and all these things and meditation at what you do. Then it has two full detailed chapters that goes into performing the Mahabali or the sacrifice, the Balidan aspect. And it goes in very detail, deep detail, where they talk about the animal. It talks about how the animal is procured, how it is taken care of and treated like a king and fed and so forth. It goes in details where it talks about the person that we may call in local terms the blade man, the one who uses the blade to take the head off of the animal, what devotion he does and how he must perform his vrat and his sadhanas and the mantras that he uses. It even goes further to talk about the blade itself and the edge of the blade and who the edge of the blade represents, if it's representation of a tongue of a Devi and who the Devi is and her consort and all these different things and what happens, what transpires after the animal has been decapitated or in this aspect, offered in that Balidan nature. So it goes in that aspect. It is there, right? And the Kalika Puran is actually what is considered an Upa Puran or a lesser Puran. All right. We also have different Purans that mentions where animal has been offered in, hawans and so forth. And we will go into those eventually when I do that Balidan discourse. We will go into all the different Purans that mention it, the Maha and the Upa Purans. You have the Brahma Vaivrata that speaks about the worship where Lord Hari himself is narrating that to Lord Hari is narrating to Narad Muni about the worship of the Devi and the animal and how the animal should be, if there's any contusion, there's any cut and whatever this that, and health and so forth. So you have that. You have different tantras that speaks about it also. Then you have the Manusrimati that goes in that talks about that. You even have certain parts of the Rig Veda that gives that aspect also. So it is there, right? So Balidan worship is there. It is not a myth. It is not a misconception. It is not just. It's not a boot, right? It's not a shadow. It's not an imaginary something. It does exist. The aspect does exist, and you have different sections of Sanatan Dharma, which we call Hinduism, that follows those lineages, those aspects of worship. All right, let us jump from the past. Let's come straight up to where we talk about one of the greatest bhaktas, where we have Ramakrishna. He followed those aspects, and the temple that he procured, that he took care of when he took it out, took of taking care of the temple after his brother. And one day we'll go into his story and that particular temple that he had taken care of, that was built by a woman, right? That within the book, there are many books that speaks about the how the worship was done. There it is, the woman who built the temple, her son was a Hare Krishna, and there it is, to honor her son. Every seventh year, for 6 years, they would do a balidan of offering a goat, and there's a place, an altar that is more or less 200 yards or so, or 200 feet away from where that chamber, the altar is. But there's a door that opens that it sees there you can see the murti, and the murti can be almost like it's watching the balidan. And there's a murti of Lord Krishna in the same chamber that mother in. And when they're performing that balidan for that balidan nature, they cover, or they put a veil over Krishna, that murti of Krishna, and they perform the balidan, and they do all the rituals of killing, offering, and cooking and sharing the meat as prasadam. But once every 7 years, in honor of the son of the woman, they would do a Satwik, they would do full Satwik. And then after that, the next day they do Balidan. So Balidan is not something that is taboo. It is there. It has many doctrines that speaks about it. So this individual speaks on what is the sense of that. This is what. And you're supposed to be in the worship 42 years. Now, where technology and information is concerned, these things would have been prevalent. These things would have been known. So the idea that someone is trying to speak in this manner, that they're trying to debunk it, or they're trying to like, what is the sense of doing it? No, you're not giving reverence to the same woman that you call Ma, seeing that she hasn't. If to give reverence, you state that there are two aspects of Ma's worship, but me and my temple, or I and whatever, prescribe to the sattvic nature, then that would be accepted, because you give reverence and respect to both aspects, and but you prescribe to the sattvic aspect. Totally understandable and very respectable, and people will respect, But to come and ask what's the sense, and to give him danam, to give the animal danam. Now, when you look up danam, danam means, it means money or charity, whatever. So you're giving the animal charity, you're being charitable to the animal in this aspect, right? So you're setting him free. Okay, fine, understandable too. There are rituals where the animal, or okay, it could be a goat, it could be a hog, it could be a chicken, a fowl cock, where certain rituals within the Balidan aspect, where the animal is not killed, the animal does and is let go to go. There are certain rituals, there are certain things, because of certain nature, the animal is not killed. And I will not go into detail into that aspect right now, but somewhere down the line we will touch on that. So there has that. So to say that you're trying to protect the goddess, right, and the worship of the goddess, but yet you ask a question in a manner, what is the sense that people of associate Kalimata with killing, and you ask the question, what's the sense of killing an animal? Are you a true devotee of Mother Kali? Are you acknowledging and giving reverence that there are two aspects of her worship, but yet you prescribe to one? You are giving life and respect to what you do, but you're not giving respect to what somebody else does. And this for me is very disheartening. And we have seen this many a times, where we see those of sada or sattvic nature are looked up, that they frowned and they looked upon those who are bad to be heinous, be barbaric, and this kind of thing. Well, please, and I implore a lot of people who are watching this video, please do your research. Please look up, your Kalika Puran. Please look up the Devi Bhagavatam. You have the Brahma Vaivrata Puran. You have different doctrines, different tantras, and so forth. You have the Manusrimati, and where that gives insight to where Balidan, offering of the animal, has been there since the dawn of time. And yes, there are certain aspects that don't follow that. You have those of Vaishnava. Vaishnava doesn't follow that. But you have other sect that does. You have Shivates that does that. What we call Shakti worship or Kali worship does that. You have those of the Mariamma or Madrasi aspect, right? That is deeply rooted within Tamil aspect of worship. They follow that also. So it is there, and you have the doctrines that support it, right? So this is what this individual have made statements, whatever, and stating that he's protecting something, but yet you're protecting the Devi, but then you're shunning an aspect of her worship. That for me is not feasible, and that's not being respectable, right? The individual goes on to talk about that there are Kali Murtis now being more prevalent, or more they're popping up in the aspect, they're being now in more temples, and he is speaking from that aspect of they're like in Vaishnava temples that Kali Murtis are being popped up now, they're being shown, and people are doing Kali worship, right, in Vaishnava temples. That wasn't necessarily so many years ago, and many of us You can double check that. You could go to the history and you will see. You look at the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s in our aspect. That wasn't so. Kali Mata was not necessary. Now there is a temple, a Vishnava temple, that is in Diego Martin that has a marble version of Kali Mata. But the worship of Kali Mata was not associated with Vishnava in the aspect that it is back then as it is now. Right? Because of the stigma placed upon the Devi and so forth, so people stayed away, and with the association of her they may mention her name into a kata also, but not. Right? And that for me is very sad, because she is a manifestation. She is mentioned in the Mahapurans. She's mentioned in the Vishnu Puran. She's mentioned in the Mashi Puran and so forth. So she is there. There are different temples in North India and East India and whatever that do worship to Mother in this aspect, not just predominantly to Durga Mata. Kali Mata is not predominantly just worshipped in South India. She is worshipped in other parts of India. So that kind of thing. So where the Vaishnava aspect of worship would have been cultivated, came across, whatever, they looked at it as being heinous because of the stigma of the rites and rituals. So they didn't prescribe to that. And I could understand that. But now you have a change in the paradigm, because a lot of people are associating them going with Kali Mata now. You may ask why. Simple. And this might be a low blow, and I do apologize. A lot of people who have spiritual problems, wherever, and this is from a lot of people that I have talked to within the Vaishnava worship, they have gone to their pundits and so forth and their gurus, right? And they have their spiritual problems, and it's not always a graha issue, right? An graha issue with a dosha and so forth. They have lineages, bloodline problems, whatever this that, and you know the pundit may not be versed in dealing with that scenario or situation, or what they're prescribing doesn't work. So that is, what does the individual do? They go to a Kali temple, and there it is, manifestation comes up and gives them a reading in that aspect, tells them the devotion, the offerings to do, and if it's a 9 week, 21 weeks of offerings, they do it and they get their help. So this is what you have, a lot of people that are turning now from the Vaishnava worship and going to the Shakti temples to get their help, financial, marital, whatever that they're having, whatever the side, house problems, whatever, and they're going that. And a lot of people will try to refute that, and they could try their best, but look at it and you will see it is factable, it is founded, it is there, and nobody can discredit it. And you have people. So now you have Vaishnava pundits doing Bedi Puja for Kali Mata. Now, honestly, it can be done. Bedi Puja can be done for Ma, because she is mentioned in the Mahapurans. She is Puranic in that aspect. Right? She is Puranic. She's not folklore, even though she's worshipped in Tamil and she's within that aspect of folklore, or you know, um, that aspect of Kahula and so forth and such, or Tamil aspect of worship. She is worshipped there too. She is there. But Ma is she's in the Purans. She's mentioned in the Purans. So yes, you can do a Bedi Puja for where you do the offering for the Nagrahas, and you do for her the presiding deity and whatever this and that. And yes, you can do aspects for Kal Bhairava, who's the master that is associated with Kal Mata. He himself also is mentioned in the Purans. He's mentioned in the Chief Puran and all that. So he's mentioned, and he's prominent within the north aspect and the aspect of India. So he's there. But aspects of Sangli Karapa, Madurai Viran and so forth, they are more predominant down south, or Tamil aspect. So yeah. I'm still, I think there were rumors of people doing Bedi Puja for them. I'm still waiting for the doctrines that shows this, and if it has it or not, but we shall see. That's a topic for next day. So this is what, and this individual goes on to say that people are using the worship for financial gains. yes, that is a fact also. That is factual, and I'll give him that. People are using the worship for financial gains and so forth for their own, profit, and is a factor. And this is where the different temples and the different pujaris and within them need to come together under one heading and standardize the worship that we do. You look outside at very much well established, prominent other temples, like say Madrasi in this aspect or other temple within the Guyanese community. And they, if you look at their worship, it is standardized. Now the pricing for it up to that point might vary, but the worship is more or less standardized, and there it is you can more or less control what is given as a cedar or monetary payment and whatever. In Trinidad, it is more or less a madhouse. It is chaos and a madhouse. You're getting a grocery list, you're buying out the whole puja store, and you're just doing a simple house devotion. But you have to buy new tarias, lotus, because the taria and lotus that you're using seems as though to be null and void. So you have to buy brand new tarias and lotus. Seems like if the tarias and lotus that you buy brand new, more of them will say, oh, brand new, and they will bless you more. That the ones that you have can't do what you're doing. So you have all these misconceptions. You have these, you know, un um, you have these non-factual aspects of people feeding lies to people in that aspect, whatever, and have them like sheep leading a flock. So you have that aspect, and that is very disheartening, whatever. So I hope that I have more or less dealt with this to the fullest extent in this fourth installation of this video of misconceptions and miseducation. Alright, the fifth video, I will deal with the aspect of where a certain individual also that is from the first video, from the first and the first one of these he was in the first video, where he's comparing certain devatas and certain devatas or gods in this aspect, devatas or deities, male deities, to um, Christian pantheons or the saints in this aspect. So we'll look at that, and we will deal with a statement that has been circulating for the longest for a while now on TikTok and Facebook, that certain individuals are claiming that their family member or somebody or whatever was practicing Kali worship or Shakti worship long, long ago, when it was hidden, when it was a hidden practice. I will debunk that in itself also, because I cannot remember from my personal and from conversations I've had with many old heads that the worship was hidden. It was frowned upon. It was scorned to some extent, but the worship wasn't hidden. And there are more or less doctrines and researchers that has more or less will debunk that, and I will show two, in fact, and that would be the prelude to what that is coming after. So I hope to see you in the fifth installation, where I deal with people stating that the worship was hidden, how many it was being practiced many years hidden, and so forth. Right, which I will debunk that, and where somebody is comparing certain Hindu pantheons or deities to Christian aspects, and which if you are speaking that, if you are not factual on what you're speaking about the worship itself, how can someone believe so? But we'll go into that aspect after. So please, I will see you then. So I hope this video has been more or less very informative, and it has debunked certain things as has been circulating or what was said here, and if anything that it rings a bell and I have debunked it in the correct manner, I hope that you have learned something, and hope to see you in the next video, which is the fifth installation. So at this point I say, Sitaram, be safe, Vanakkam.